It's a very quietly powerful film, but not trying to be powerful and not trying to be didactic or preachy or judgmental in any way.
तेरे जैसी औरतों के लिए सरकार की एक स्कीम है जिसे आश्रित कोटा कहते हैं। मतलब कि पुलिस वाले की विधवा होने के नाते तुझे रमन की नौकरी मिलेगी। रमन के जैसे।
Hi everyone, it's Silesh Ram, AsianCultureVulture.com. How are you doing? Thanks for joining me. We're doing an outside Zoom today, talking to the star of Santosh, Shahana Goswami. This is a film that had its world premiere at the Cannes Film Festival last year. We were there to cover it, and it's now coming to the UK. Let's go and find out more. Let's talk to Shahana Goswami. When you got the script, what did you think of the film, and what did you think of your character, the Santosh character?
When I read a script, I always kind of see the film in my mind as an audience first, not as a performer, but how would this film feel as an audience? Because I love watching cinema, and my first motivation is always like, is this something that I will watch? Is this something that intrigues me? And what I loved about the script was how it's in its subtlety, it says so much. It's a very quietly powerful film, but not trying to be powerful and not trying to be didactic or preachy or judgmental in any way. And I love that it extends that quality to its characters in terms of not judging those characters, but also still making you aware of, as an audience, your own tendency to judge and the judgments that you end up holding, or the hypocritical ideas that we have towards the world around us, towards ourselves, towards human emotion. That kind of holding up a mirror to society where there aren't any fingers being pointed, and yet you see things so clearly and so palpably. That's what I found really amazing. And the fact that Santosh is not a typical heroic character, frontlining a film, where she is human. She's human in her contradictory nature, in her finding her way through contradictory and opposing moralities and ideas, and figuring out where she wants to stand and how she wants to be.
How do you start? Where do you start with a character like Santosh?
Well, most of the work is done when you have such a detailed script in terms of the intention, the vision, the motivation that Sandhya had as a writer, director of this film, and that became a really solid baseline.
Did you know Sandhya Suri? Did you have much time with her before you actually went on set? And was there rehearsal time, or explain that process?
Yeah, I didn't know her before we started, before we got in touch for the film, but yes, we did take some time, about 10 days or so, where we kind of worked through the script and spoke about things and workshopped through some of the scenes, both her and me, but also with Sunita, Sandhya and me. And but that was it. It was a lot more of a discussed process than we didn't really workshop on it, or in terms of acting and theater and all that. But I think a lot of that was left to our instincts and impulses. Certain things, we spoke about in terms of detailing, but the rest was kind of left to what comes out instinctively as well.
With Sunita Rajwar, it's such a central relationship. Have you worked with her before, or did you know?
No, it was the first time I was working with Sunita, and I think for her also it was such an unusual character to play, and a character that is so far removed from her own personality and her being. And I know how hard it was for her to be able to kind of put all that aside and do it, because also she usually gets cast very close to her own personality, and then there's been a kind of typecasting of that and a continuation of just playing that sort of character. So for her, it was very refreshing to do something like this, but it also meant changing so many aspects of her performance style, in a sense, and including her voice and her, mannerisms, and so it was really amazing working with her and watching her in that process, and to be able to play off her was a delight. Like it was so. I think that it really added to my performance and my character.
you talk to a lot of women police officers, police women. So what did you glean from them? What was the insight they gave you that you hadn't thought about or weren't aware of before you started work on this film?
I think the main thing is that there is a kind of tendency to have if I ask you suddenly tomorrow to play a cop or a doctor or something, you'll play it off what you've seen on celluloid, because that's what we do. We think we know when we see something, right? And we've seen so much growing up, right? So we don't actually have an idea. We have this kind of like stiff self-righteousness kind of idea of a police, but when you see them in their daily routine, it's a job, it's something they do every day. It's not it isn't as you imagine it to be. So in that sense, I feel like it brought a lot of um, authenticity for us to just watch them in their daily routine and see that um, everything is not so self-serious all the time.
What do you think this film says about women in the workplace, especially that kind of that authority? You have that authority as a policewoman.
Let's say it's a feminist film that also sees the corruption of the feminine, and power is the thing that starts corrupting everything. Whether it is the gender politics, whether it is the caste politics, whether it is the administrative politics, whether it's all corrupted by power, by a greed for power, by the need for power. And that is a reality we live in across the board. And that's actually why I feel like the film has been received well outside of India, because I think that essential quality everybody relates to. We live in a world that is driven by power, and we live in a world that has been conditioned to desire power.
And how do you look back on the Cannes experience, the world premiere there, we were there, and the impact it had and the reception it got, in the world premiere screening?
It was the first time I was seeing the film on a big screen. I did watch the film before Cannes privately, because I think it would have been too overwhelming for me to watch the film for the first time with a live audience. And it was good that I did that, because I have had a tendency to be very self-critical, and I had that experience watching it the first time where I felt very underwhelmed by my own performance, and to realize that I was being...
I can't believe that.
Yeah, and that's when I realized that I was just being really hard on myself, and I had to work through that. So by the time I came to Cannes, I had prepared myself to be more receptive to my own performance and to enjoy the ride. And it was so, I was so consumed with the fact that, I managed to achieve that goal of being able to sit and watch the film with an entire hall full of people, and then actually see and appreciate some of the parts of my own performance, that I forgot that, there was another aspect of whether the audience will love it or not. And so when the lights came on, and there was such a great response to the film in terms of the applause, and the way that I looked into so many people's eyes, and they just had this like thank you look on their face, like thank you guys for making this. And that was really, really wonderful.
A lot of people know you here in the UK. What's your future work? What are you doing now?
There's an Australian web series that I did it was a television series that I did for SBS called 4 Years Later, which is an English language, I would say, a romantic drama, 8 episodes. And that has already released there. And now ITV is trying to sell it to different distributors. So we're hoping that comes out in England soon, and across in the world as well, but definitely in England. And so that's a complete kind of different perspective and opposite end of the spectrum from Santosh. And besides that, I'm just doing a film, finishing a film with Bharat Bala, who is making, I think, his first Hindi feature film. And it's set with the backdrop of the Kumbh. It's called Mahasangam, and it's again a kind of relationship drama, but with the metaphor and backdrop of a Kumbh and the lost and found scene.
Okay. When will that be out? Do you know?
I would imagine by early next year, maybe. If all goes as per plan. But so that's something I'm looking forward to. It's got Abhishek Banerjee and Neeraj Kabi in it, and the three of us are the leads of the film.
Are you coming to London at all?
I would love to. I'm hoping. I had thought that I would come around the premiere. I mean, with the film coming out, but unfortunately, I'm still filming for this film at the time, so I can't. But I will definitely come to London sometime soon, and I would love to do a lot more work that not only comes out there, but is probably more co-productions, more films and projects come out of that are based out of the UK.
Thank you so much for joining me. Thanks a lot and all the best.
Thank you, Shailesh. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care now.
इस देश में 2 तरह के छुआछूत है। एक वो जिसे कोई छूना नहीं चाहता और दूसरा वो जिसे कोई छू नहीं सकता।